All right, Aquarius, I like this, but it's up to you to make this happen, right? So from lay vampire, sacrifice, renunciation, offering, and letting go, and then discovery. Discovery is about trying to recapture a past that no longer fits. It's about trying to keep something that is far less than what you deserve, right? It's needing to let go of the past, going on a path of self-discovery here. But the only way to do that is if you are willing to make a sacrifice here. Now, if you're dealing with a difficult situation here, then it's basically saying you need to sacrifice that and let that go, right? But sacrifice is really about, letting go of the things that are going to benefit you, not having to sacrifice something that's going to hurt you. All right, Aquarius. Here's your overall for the week. You and Cap. Oh my goodness. The Hangman. So, I'm going to say the same thing here. With this being the overall, it's like you're stuck with a situation. It's not like the Eight of Swords here, but you're purposely doing this to yourself. Because I see the Hangman and think you are bound to something here. Wanting to see a different perspective, needing to see more of a situation. But the problem is when you put yourself in this position, you're not doing anything. You don't know how to act. You don't know what to think. Now, on the other hand, right, it could be that you're waiting on something to happen here before you finally release yourself and start to act. I'm trying to see the positive in this, but I don't like it when it's the overall because, nothing really happens if we're not taking any action toward what is happening around us, right? Oh boy. Okay, so in the past, the Two of Cups. So about a relationship here. Doesn't have to be romantic with the Two of Cups. And I mean, with the Hangman being the overall, if we're looking at this from a positive perspective here, it could be that you are seeing the different perspective, seeing someone else's point of view, right? Because the Two of Cups is two people having a connection, seeing eye to eye, sharing their thoughts and their emotions. And maybe that's what you're trying to do right now, is to see someone else's perspective. Oh shit. And then there's Cap. So the devil in the present moment, there are some unhealthy things that may be going on here. You may be dealing with another person who has, unhealthy habits, addictions. Because of the Two of Cups being the past, at one point you may have, been on the same page. But with the devil, whatever it is that is trapping someone here, whether it's you or the other person, I think it may be making it hard for you to see things differently, right? But the devil is unhealthy. I'm waiting to see here, though. Okay. So let me just say that for some of you, you may be trying to see a different perspective here involving another person that you may have a connection with. But there are clearly some unhealthy things going on in the present moment. The Ace of Swords and future conditions is the truth, right? Absolute truth, absolute clarity. You may be the one that is speaking up and speaking the truth to someone about the unhealthy things that may be going on. And I do think that this is going to be you and another person here because of the Two of Cups kicking this off. Your best path to follow, the Knight of Wands. And it may just be that a relationship here needs to have a little bit more passion, right? With the Knight of Wands being your advice, to me, this is get up and get after it, right? This is action. This is passionate action, right? Not worrying about what's going to happen in the future. Let's just go, let's experience something here, right? Excitement, enthusiasm. Needing to take action. But right now, it may be difficult because of the devil being in the present moment. Okay, so The Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles being in your environment with the Devil, you know, this is really about work, 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 and working for the material, working for the money. I mean, that's all you're doing, right? And it has a hold over you. The Devil is about the things that have power over you, right? And it's not healthy. And it's not healthy for a relationship. Now, this could be, like I said, you or the other person here. Because I still see you being the one trying to see things differently. You know, but you eventually do get to the Ace of Swords here where there's that truth and clarity, right? And if you're the one that's working all the time, you know, with the Knight of Wands being there, it may be that, you know, to help a relationship out, you need to, you know, get up and go and experience some things, right? Having some fun. You know, that Devil, you know, for me, I look at that in the Eight of Pentacles, and I think it kind of goes both ways. For those of you who are dealing with somebody who has addictions or is doing something unhealthy within a relationship, you know, with the Eight of Pentacles, it could just be that, right, you're willing to do all that you can, you know. But the problem is I go back to that Hangman, and there's really not a whole lot, though, that you can do. And I kind of get that, you know, no matter what the situation is here. But it is unhealthy for a relationship for you. Okay, so your hopes and your fears, the Seven of Pentacles, right? And this to me is the minor to the major. You know, reevaluating, looking at things from a different perspective here. But this is reevaluating what you have to show for all the hard, oh my God, if I could talk right, for all the hard work that you've done. My brain is going faster than my mouth this morning. Let me get some more coffee here. Maybe I'll catch up. It's funny because at first I thought I had too much coffee. Anyway, you know, and like I said, if this is about you, you know, working too much here and it becoming an unhealthy thing. You know, with the Seven of Pentacles, you may be looking at it and going, maybe it's not worth, you know, breaking my back for, if it's going to affect a relationship, right? You know, maybe there is a different way to do this, a different way to, you know, go about creating, you know, the finances that you want, the abundance that you want, right? Because the Seven of Pentacles, I mean, you know, I always question it. I always question on whether or not this person is actually happy with what they're seeing. In a lot of cases, you know, it's time to do something different, right? In other cases, it's like, okay, great, you're starting to see some results here, but how do you continue that growth, right? And that may be what you're fearing right now. If you change things, or if you're not constantly busting your ass, how is that going to continue, you know, the kind of growth that you want to see? You know, but you get a breakthrough, though, with that Ace of Swords. Oh, and then coming out, the Five of Cups. No. Right? That's not good. You know, I look at this and I think if you have, you know, unhappiness and disappointment coming out, right? Is it that you're getting clarity on that? Are you seeing now that this is not making you happy, breaking your back all the time, and it's affecting a relationship, right? That, or it may be, you know, you being unhappy at the fact that someone else is acting this way. I mean, we can flip the script on this with the Two of Cups being what's coming through. But I don't like that Five of Cups coming out. You know, I look at this and I think for some of you, absolutely, you could be disappointed at the fact that somebody is not, you know, giving more to the relationship, that they're giving more to, you know, something else, something unhealthy, right? But, you know, with the Magician here and the Two of Cups, I don't see this as manipulation. Not with the Five of Cups, I don't. You know, I look at this and think somebody has created this situation, right? When you're looking at the Magician, you're talking about manifesting, making something happen here, having what you need to, you know, create the things that you want. I don't think it's about somebody manipulating you, because, you know, I'm looking at this clarifying the past. I'm not looking at this with like the Seven of Swords, the Five of Swords, or anything like that. You know, and like I've been saying consistently this week, if you can create unhappiness, you can create happiness, damn it, right? Now, with the Lovers, I mean, definitely with the Two of Cups, we could be talking about a really significant major relationship here. But it's also about the choices that you're making in this relationship, right? And again, right, temptation or the moral high ground here. But whatever it is that you're creating is affecting a relationship here in a negative way because of the Five of Cups. And then with the Six of Pentacles, what are you giving to here? Now, like I said, we could flip the script on this. This could be the other person that you're dealing with. But, I don't think it's about needing things to be corrected or somebody making amends here, with the Six of Pentacles being the minor to the major of justice here. It's about what you're giving and what you're receiving. But I don't like that Five of Cups coming out, because to me, it's just like you're looking at, disappointment. I mean, absolutely with the Ace of Swords, it could be that, the truth and understanding of the situation is there. There is clarity. You're getting over, this emotional suffering. But, with the Hangman being there, changes it for me. Because you're still waiting on a situation to change. And for some of you, it is going to have to do with money. It is going to have to do with work. But I still look at that Knight of Wands and I think it's time for more excitement, Now, let's just say, for instance, that this does not have to do with a relationship at all. If some of you are just looking at work situations right now, you may have thought in the past that what you were working toward was a good fit for you with the Two of Cups, but with the Devil, it's clearly unhealthy. There's that epiphany and that breakthrough. But, how do you change things? How do you change things where you can continue the growth that you want to see? But you still end up disappointed here. And then the funny thing is if we are talking about a relationship, right, those Two Cups are still there. And you kicked it off with the Two of Cups. But I do think that for some of you, this is going to be about a relationship. Opening up your perspective to see, someone else's side of a situation. But I still think that there's just too much focus somewhere else, somewhere unhealthy, right? There's too much work being put into the things that are not going to help. So purpose. What is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of going through all of this? What is your purpose? Your purpose is to speak your truth when it comes to the situation and needing to have the strength to do it, despite the fact that maybe somebody won't be happy with what you have to say. I mean, that to me seems to be the biggest thing coming out here. But then needing to have the strength here to get over the unhealthy things, the things that you feel like have power over you, or, having the strength to deal with somebody else that is doing this, right? And then honesty is essential. To be a loving person, it is important that we speak truthfully and in a loving manner. So is somebody maybe needing a little bit of honesty, which kind of brings me back to this maybe, what someone else is doing in the relationship, but it is affecting it, right? But needing to appreciate the moments, But somebody needs a dose of honesty. But I also look at that Knight of Wands and think we need a little bit more passion, a little bit more excitement. Go do something, right? Go do something with a partner. Go do something with someone that you have a connection with, right? And maybe help them see the truth